Alright everyone, this is Ash. Welcome back to the King's Speech. We're going to get caught up on some more Shonen Jump stuff today. I got a little bit of a milestone here because we have the final chapter of Kaiju No. 8 finishing off its serialization. I think Season 2 of the anime also just started airing recently as well, so we got a lot of stuff to cover with regards to that. Apart from that, I'll have some Spy Family, and I'm also going to try to get caught up with some Akane Banashi today, just because I don't want my backlog to become too insurmountable. So a lot of good stuff coming your way this weekend, so if you haven't already, please do like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. But without further ado, for the final time, let's get into it with Kaiju No. 8, Chapter 129, and it literally says the final chapter by Naoya Matsumoto, with translation by David Evelyn and lettering by Phil Christie. So we have the last thing I saw was Director General Shinomiya fading away, his back turned toward me. I should have disappeared along with No. 8, but when I came to, I was in a Defense Force hospital. And it's like, okay, just remain calm and listen to me. You see like a doctor coming in. It's like 4 months had passed. He's like, who the heck is that? As you see like a grizzly little scruff Kafka. And I gotta say, I think I do like this look of his more than his regular one. Looking a lot more daddy like this. But you have number of kaiju emerged 1,316. Number of Daikaiju 18. Number of identified kaiju among them 7, including one special case. Damages accrued 56.4 trillion yen. With Tokyo as the epicenter, the devastation extended throughout Japan, with many casualties on and off the battlefield. The scale of the damage was said to be miraculously small, but even so, the Kaiju No. 9 cataclysm was the greatest major cataclysm in the Defense Force's history. And as for Kaiju No. 8, and you see as news things coming on with, citizens only continue to grow more concerned. Even now, there are several speculations flying around regarding their true identity. Kafka's like, wait, really? That's not good! And he seems like a little razor as he's shaving himself. After they were spotted fighting alongside the Defense Force, theories emerged on social media about a new bioweapon within the division. A kaiju with a human mind or a space alien. There have even been theories that the cataclysm itself was a plot by the government and the Neutralization Bureau to reduce the population, with Kaiju No. 8 being the mastermind behind it all. And Kafka's like, there you have it. He's like, okay, but why though? As he's getting back into his Defense Force uniform. It's like 4 months have passed and the Defense Force has yet to disclose any details about Kaiju No. 8, classifying it as a highly confidential matter of defense. And you see Kafka going, I'm not entirely sure how I managed to revert to human form. I can feel a human heart beating in my chest where a kaiju core should be. And there's one more strange thing. And you see the fucking weird ass like kaiju bug that infected him in the first place and like turned him into Kaiju No. 8 just peacefully sleeping inside. He's like, it's still here. Maybe Director General Shinomiya kept the grudges in place. He has a little flashback like, grabs, like, I won't let you guys go just yet for national defense. It's like, seems like something he'd do. Or maybe it just means that they're willingly going to help out in this era. And you hear, are you ready? As Mina walks into the room. And he's like, hey there. And she's about to say something and she stops and goes, I have the car waiting. Let's go. And you see as they're driving through the city, he's like, oh, awesome. It really is almost all reconstructed. It's like, actually, it looks like it got a power-up. And you see Japan Defense Force, Tachikawa Base, and you see like a bunch of construction vehicles. It's like they're building up buildings and things. And you have, not only was it decimated from No. 10's rate, but the No. 9 cataclysm set back the restoration efforts even further. We plan to make significant improvements. He's like, oh, this is where I got into that spat with Kikoro on exam days. He goes to parking lot number 55. It's like, that jerk, she said this was her lucky number. It's like, and the grounds are the same as ever. Everyone was fast, but Haruichi, and Aoi were so fast it felt like they were cheating. He's like, the new hall is huge. Reminds me of the induction ceremony. It's like, even the ruined dorms are close to complete, I see. It's like, bathing with the boys sure was fun. And you have even the training grounds are going to be renovated to be 1.5 times bigger. And you have door number 3. But that means punishment laps around the perimeter are going to get even tougher. It's like, the main gate is outside here. He's like, oh, this is... And he thinks back to when he's first being like led away in handcuffs. It's like, this is where Ichikawa told me, I have faith that she'll come back. And he has like a little flashback montage of everything that's happened until now. Oh, so I'm just pull it up quickly. Yeah. It's got a little flashback montage. And he goes, I see, so I finally come back home. And you see everyone just kind of like snuck up behind him and all just kind of like posing and standing there. And you're just watching in shock. And they're like, guys, It's like, sir, glad to have you back. I had faith that you'd return to us. You see Kafka just like kneeling down, like slapping his face, trying not to cry as Kikori just like lets out a huff. He's like, yeah, glad to be back. He's got like tears streaming down his face. I don't know, man. We'll talk about this at the end, I guess. And you have old man. He's like, yes. Haruichi just comes like, is it Haruichi? Fucking Pompadour bro like runs and rams into him. He's like, huh? You out of practice or something? He's like, I've been asleep for 4 months, genius. It's like that Iharu really is dauntless when it comes to stuff like this, huh? It's like, hey, he does make things less awkward for the rest of us. He'd make a great spearhead captain for the 3rd Division with that attitude. It's like, you were asleep way too long. I was wondering if you'd ever wake up. It's like, we'd come visit you from time to time. You didn't notice us? It's like, how could I? I was asleep. It's also, while you were sleeping, Gookie got... What the fuck is Gookie? Gookie got married to Ren Tsukino. I was like, no way! That's a shock and a half! Am I supposed to remember who any of those people were? Hold on, let me check something. Okay, I don't see anything on like the Reddit or anything or the wiki with that, so I have no idea. That's supposed to be like some really deep cut I'm missing. But let's touch a bit on what happens to everyone afterward. Ichikawa, Iharu, Haruichi, Aoi. By the next year, they'd be assigned to lead troops as platoon commanders. As a result, analysts at headquarters say that the 3rd Division has become comparable to the 1st Division in terms of combat ability and has entered its golden age. The number of applicants are expected to drop due to the number 9 cataclysm, but contrary to the Defense Force's expectations, applicants to the force quadrupled compared to last year, which means Mina and Vice Captain Hoshino are the busiest they've ever been. And you have her just be like, I hate office work. And Hoshino's like, alright, keep them hands moving. So Kikoro received an unprecedented promotion and will be Vice Captain of the 1st Division as of her 2nd year. She's dedicated to becoming the strongest and hopes to surpass her mom and dad. In accordance with that, Vice Captain Hasegawa has been bumped up to the HQ staff officer. That's the baldy with the scar over his eye. And you have Narumi just being like, why are you going to headquarters without me? You will pay, you will pay, you will pay, you will pay. He said that Captain Narumi voiced complaints out of pride despite having no interest in moving to headquarters. And Kikoro goes, the captain of the 1st Division has to be the strongest. Who in the world would be a replacement, Captain Narumi? He's like, say what? He's like, well, you raised a good point there. He's like fanning himself. It's like, there is no one else. And Kikoro just kind of like does a thumbs up to the baldy. It's like, I'll force you out one day. It's like, but apparently his combat power isn't the only thing doing some growing. Now I can leave things to Narumi in peace. There were 7 identified kaiju neutralized in the number 9 cataclysm. Tissue of 6 of them, excluding the already weaponized number 10, are currently in storage. One of them, number 12, has shown aptitude for Captain Soichiro of the Western Division. Since all of them are extremely dangerous kaiju with advanced intelligence and sentience, whether they will be converted to weapons or scrapped is being carefully considered. In particular, the body tissue of Kaiju number 8. Let me check who Kaiju number 12 was. Oh, number 12 was it the running Kaiju guy? What was it? Yeah, I meant Speed. Yeah. That was the one he was like fucking facing on the highway, was like doing all the running stuff. In particular, the body tissue of Kaiju number 9 has been put under number 6 level cold storage, and is currently under strict lockdown in the deepest depths of the Ariake base. And lastly, there's me, Kafka Habino. And you see him in a supermarket checkout, he's just getting some food. It's like, the quake is huge! Is it a kaiju? Huh? This is bad, isn't it? It's gotta be close! And you see Kafka just like pulling out his badge with, I'm with the Defense Force! Everyone calmly follow evacuation instructions. And you see a kaiju just erupting nearby, and he's like, run! It's like, this is Hibino. Kaiju emergence Nishikimachi District. And Hoshino's like, we have the signal. Dispatching the division right away. Be careful of Yoju and help guide any citizens to safety. It's like, Roger. It's like, Kafka. Research facilities around the world want to know the identity of Kaiju number 8. If it gets out, then you'll be in danger. Don't do anything stupid. He's like, I know, sir. I'll stick to rearguard support till the division arrives. He's evacuate this way. I'm with the defense force. Remain calm. And you see like this dinosaur almost looking kaiju. Hold on. Sorry, there's just a lot of pages to get through with this. But yeah, you see like this dinosaur little kaiju going after, I assume, 2 little kids. Man, this is a little bit like too on the nose. Like, we'll talk about this at the end. It's like, it's no good. We can't run. As you see, like the male child just like clears with his eyes, and the girl's like, I'm going to join the defense force. This is no time to be afraid of a guy like this. And she's standing with like a little kendo stick, and the kid's like, that's right. If we can't run away anyway. And like he picks up a stone, and they're like, yes! The kaiju's like lunging towards them, and you see a takum and a plash. As you have Kafka Hibino, officially assigned to the 3rd Division as a result of gaining trust during the number 9 Cataclysm. On the newly established on-site Kaiju Analysis Squad, known as the Analytical Support Squad, I serve as the platoon leader. It's like, you 2 held out well. It's like, I'll get you home in one piece, so make sure to keep what you're about to see a secret, okay? And occasionally, and you see him transforming into his kaiju form. He's like, Kaiju number 8! He's got fight on his Kaiju number 8. Fuck, man. Alright. Yeah, I guess quick thoughts on this chapter. Yeah, man, I really don't know what I expected. This really was somehow, even with my low expectations, this somehow still managed to come like underneath that bar from like what I was expecting for the final kind of chapter. So I guess we'll talk about the beginning. Like, having only kind of like a 4-month time skip is like, alright, whatever. I guess you didn't want to get like too far into it. But I don't feel like that's enough time for like what the series tried to do and like wrap up and for like everything that happened. Because you have like the whole thing like, alright, here's the like the consequences of like, here's how much damage it was. Like, how many kaiju emerged and like blah, blah, blah. But it feels very analytical with like how we're presented with these numbers. Like, it doesn't really feel like it has an impact. Like, to me, there's no like emotional response or reaction to hearing like, oh, like this not many kaiju emerged, like this number of die kaiju, like here's how much damage there was. None of it feels like it's either impactful to us as readers or impactful to Kafka and like his reactions to the battle and like what happened with that. So it's kind of like, alright, just tossed in to kind of like make this seem like, consequential and things, but it doesn't really come off like that. Apart from that, it does feel like a cop-out to be like, oh, the kaiju parasite is still there, and he kind of hand waves it away with like, I don't know, like maybe Director General Shinobi kept the grudges in place. It's like maybe they're just willing to help out in this era. Like, it feels like a hand wavy away response to kind of justify like, oh, why you can still transform, like be useful to the thing. Which, when we get to the other aspect of this, kind of like a weird, again, like kind of feels like a cop-out. We'll talk about that stuff at the end. But I also kind of get, like, I understand why fans are like huffing that copium right now with like, oh, there's got to be a sequel happening, like this has to be confirmed, like blah blah blah. Because the fact that he's like, oh, he can still transform into Kaiju number 8. He's got his heart back. We're basically back to square one again. I understand why is that, but it feels very, very baity with how it's laid out. Apart from that, like having Kafka and Mina just like one word response, like, I have the car waiting, let's go. And that being their sole interaction throughout this final chapter. Because I saw so many people posting, talking about like, oh, I don't know why people are expecting like a romantic relationship between Kafka and Mina, but at the end of this, is like, he only said he wanted to stand by her side. Ignoring like the general trend of like prudishness that's kind of been more prevalent in like fandom spaces and stuff now with the younger generations, where it's kind of like, oh, any mention of kind of like sex or intimacy or stuff like that is kind of just like, oh, like you can't have that in my manga or my book series in any way. It's like, oh, you can't have smut in there. I mean, apart from like, the fucking male lead, female lead getting together being kind of a shonen staple, I don't know how you could read through this entire series and not kind of see the implications of like the romantic implications between Kafka and Mina throughout all of their interactions throughout this entire series and be like, oh, they're just best friends. It just seems like a wild kind of thing to be like, oh, that can't be like, and there was nothing romantic implied at all. Even putting all of that aside, the fact this is their only interaction in the entire series, when Kafka's entire goal has to be in like, oh, I want to like stand side by side with Mina, I want to be able to fight alongside her, blah, blah, blah. And the fact that it did not interact in a meaningful manner until the very final war arc, where you have Mina's whole thing being like, oh, Kafka was the one that kind of like managed to pull her out of number 9's like little hell dreamscape, all that. And to have them just be like acting like, oh, we're just like, colleagues, like we're colleagues, we're not remotely close together, like we don't have any kind of friendship or anything. It's definitely a choice in a series like this. Apart from that, again, like trying to do like the callbacks to the first chapter where Kafka's like, this is where I got into my spat with Kikoru. This is where I did that push-up that one time. Remember when we were at that bathhouse? It just feels like the laziest of nostalgia baiting to be like, hey guys, remember this from the beginning of the manga? Wasn't those good times? Like, there's just no emotional heft to it. It feels like, Matsumoto's like, all right, here's a checklist of like every trope a shonen that has this final chapter has to have, and he's just like checking them off his box as he's like going through the chapter. So like, I don't know, like it does not really feel like his heart is in this series, like there's a passion to what he's been drawing and writing in this chapter. Especially when you get to the thing of like Kafka being like turning around and like all the defense force like standing there like they're posing for like a photograph. It's just too clean, like it's too neat, I think, to actually have like the emotional impact I think he's trying to get out of readers. Especially when you're like, oh, look at all these guys. And he's trying to like, Kafka's trying to mention like, oh, Iharu Aoi and like those guys that I barely interacted with and came back at like the last minute of the final battle. Those guys I'm really close to. It's just kind of laughable at this point. Especially when he's trying to do like the post-time skip thing, like next year they'd be assigned to lead troops. It's like this and this. It's like, oh, Kaiju's becoming this a golden era. Like again, it feels very much like he's ticking off checkboxes rather than like actually trying to wrap up this story in a meaningful way. So yeah, apart from that, not really much else to say. Again, I don't know if he actually does have a sequel in mind, or this is a case of like, oh, if a sequel ever gets greenlit, this will be like my way out to kind of get that set up for like the potential future plot points, whatever. It's like I'll have all these like just on the back burner just in case. But yeah, I don't know, man. Like it feels like a lot of just wasted potential and promises that are not going to be delivered on. Especially at the end where you have like, I think this is what annoys me the most, is like trying to do like the very baby parallel of like, oh look, there's these two little kids that are basically Kafka and Mina when they were kids. And it's like, oh, he's gonna inspire the next generation, like hurrah. It just feels like, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm sorry, my brain is just like not working right now. But what's the damn word I'm looking for? It feels, insulting is not the right word, but that's kind of the energy I'm getting from this, where he's kind of drew like these very obvious parallels. Like it just feels like, he's, like I said, it feels like he's ticking off checkboxes more than anything. But yeah, I don't know. Like honestly, I won't say this is like the worst ending in any series ever, just because I've been kind of emotionally checked out and not invested for so long in the series now that I don't really feel anything about, the lackluster kind of wrap up that we got. But I think it is in contention for one of the worst endings written in the series, if not there. But yeah, I don't know. Honestly, I feel like the series had a lot of potential that it really kind of wasted. Especially with like the whole like, oh, Kafka's now like the division of like, the Kaiju research division or whatever. I feel like if the series had focused more on that rather than being a typical battle shonen, it would have been a lot more interesting. But yeah, a little bit disappointing. But Thank you all for staying with me all this entire time. I hope you all enjoyed this finale. And until next time, this is Ash. Talk to you all later.